Alright, Barakatha Yahweh Shai. Okay, double honestly, apostles of JMS. Honestly, brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Okay, so I'm gonna do another video here regarding the topic that you have at hand. Okay, so what's in the works right now is the militarization of all the major, all the major countries that you got out there in the world, the so-called first world countries out there. And ultimately, he also wants to push forth an agenda where you got all of the world's military, rather more all of these, the world's, what we know as police, militarized. Okay, so they can raid whoever they want to raid, and so on and so forth. The film that comes to mind, okay, if you watch, let's go to Equilibrium, because they did a movie back in the day, right, which was known as Equilibrium. Okay, Equilibrium. Okay, the movie. And when you go into the movie, it basically shows you little bits and pieces as regarding. So you take a look here. We go into more images right here. This is a good movie. It's a good movie. You want to watch it. It's kind of like a Matrix style movie. Okay, you go an elitist agenda to destroy the people's emotions and they to control their thought patterns, and they got a big thing in there of actually no, I'm thinking about there's also Demolition Man. Okay, they're both good movies. Me personally, I like this one. There's a bit more action in there. You got what's his man's name? Christian Bell, and he's a damn good actor. Okay, so that's a good movie to watch. When you have the time, and that goes into a lot of what. Oh, here we go. So you can see that there. So they got a sort of the same thing. No smiling, no emotions, no passions. That's the kind of controlled lifestyle they want to live in. You see here, that's what the so-called militarized police force, which goes to show you something about these movies, because they keep pushing it. Oh, look at the trucks in the background, man. Okay, that goes to show you that these movies, basically show you what's going to happen out there within the future. Okay, I might even have to watch this movie again because it's a damn good movie. Okay, all right, it's a damn good movie. So I advocate you people, you brothers out there, and obviously you people that be watching these videos, whoever you may be, to go out there and watch this movie, because that puts into light what the elders, starting at the elders of GMS, okay, what they've been talking about as pertaining to this truth, and what the elite banking families is trying to do. Okay, which is to set up a new world order, and within that so-called new world order, they're gonna try to establish. Okay, they're gonna have a militarized police force. Okay, so they can have complete and utter control over you. Okay, so should you this time come up and create some kind of a ruckus or some kind of case, see, they're gonna use chaos as a means of overturning this government, this system, this way of doing things. But in their so-called new setup, they're not gonna tolerate that sort of chaos. And in order not to tolerate that sort of chaos, they're gonna militarize the police, man. Okay, in a sort of a shoot first, ask later kind of way, man. And they've been showing you little skirmishes of that as of late. But ultimately, when you watch this movie, okay, you're gonna find out that that's really the agenda that they're really going for. So I'm gonna hit this article right quick, and I'm going to some scriptures to show you that this is all going back onto the prophecies that Mosiah set forth, and that Esau was going to try to achieve this, okay, especially the so-called New World Order. But we know from the book of Job, the 20th chapter, when he was about to fill his belly, when he's about to achieve his prize, because remember, they've been laying down the foundations of this, okay, going back onto the Borgias, okay, because contrary to what most people will have you believe, the elite banking families, they deal with reincarnation, man. Okay, really, all of these different nations, whether we're talking about Ishmael, Moab, Ammon, and so on and so forth, they know how reincarnation works. That's why they keep their so-called bloodline, quote unquote, pure. Okay, of which they take that to a certain extreme, that they will sleep with their brothers and sisters. But the Greeks and the Romans did that. Okay, so that when you have them inheritances coming in terms of inheriting the world that they have established, quote unquote, okay, that's going to stay within the same allotment of people. Okay, now what had happened in the past time, they would have had through the spirit Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, okay, they would have had certain people come up within that, and then ultimately you would have had a new empire rise out of that, or you would have had it to where another whole nation from yonder will rise up, and they'll come and overthrow that government. But even when that nation is established, they'll keep the bloodline tight. Okay, they'll have it to where the children get brought up the right way, and so on and so forth. So that legacy that will continue on to the next generation. And this is going back onto the Borgias, okay? And they set this whole thing in motion, Okay, now you got it to where it's coming out here into fruition. It's about to give birth. That's why you go to the scriptures. It talks a lot about when his kingdom is about to be, he's going to be destroyed. It's going to be likened unto a woman in travail. See, the elite banking families feel like they're going to give birth to this so-called new world order, but actually, what's going to happen is the Most High is going to get into it. You're going to have what's known as divine intervention. Okay, you're going to have what's known as divine intervention. Okay, the Yahweh Shemi Shai is going to step in. Okay, and he's gonna stop the elite banking families in their tracks. Okay, he's gonna destroy their adventures. Okay, all right. They are what's the word I'm looking for? Their craftiness. The Most High is gonna destroy that. Okay, all right. To the end that the Most High is gonna have it to where the least people within this kingdom, they're gonna be the greatest in the next kingdom. That's why the scripture says how we're gonna have perfect rest in the kingdom of the Most High, man. Because it's gonna be likened unto Esau's so-called new world order, but it's gonna be in righteousness. Okay, we ain't gonna have to lift up our fingers to have these nations in subjection. The spiritual power that we got is gonna have it to where they're gonna be in fear, and he's gonna subject their will to. They're gonna subject their will, right, to the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans. Okay, so it says coming soon to a city near you. Okay, the U.S. military plans to take over America. Okay, so they've been Jade Helm here and there, and they had another program that they run last year. I forget the name of it. Okay, so they've been doing all kinds of test drills and so on and so forth to get this so-called militarized police force. Okay, which is necessary because if you think about a overthrowing of the government, right? What happens when you overthrow a government? So a police person is just a police personnel, if you will, is just a person. Okay, that's one of the people. Okay, but when you have a government entity, all right, such as the military, well, when you take a look at certain countries like Syria and so on and so forth, you see that the army sometimes works independent of the state. Okay, in other words, you can have what's known as a covert armies. Okay, you have it to where you got armies, okay, filled with personnel that's not even within the country. That makes it more distant from the people that are actually within the country. So if you're talking about people rising up against the government and so on and so forth, having a militarized a police force, so to speak, all right, has it to where those people, if they would try to overthrow the government, okay, the new world order they're gonna step forth. Guess what? Bullets is gonna be flying, man. Okay, that's why when we go to the scriptures right here, let's go to the scriptures right here. Okay, right in the book of Second Ezra, we're gonna go into the book of called the Apocrypha, and we'll go to the book of Second Ezra, the 15th chapter. Okay, so in the book of Second Ezra, the 15th chapter, all right, if we go to right round about here, it goes into it. Okay, so let me try and find the exact point I want. Right, dealing with a man desiring to go to another city, all right, or to maneuver, okay, to move about, all right, which is somewhere right here. It's in my face. I'm looking at it, but I'm finding it difficult to find. Trying to read and talk at the same time. Okay, so let's read. There we go. 16th verse. So it says, "For they shall be sedition meaning civil unrest, okay, among men." All right, invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes. So when you're talking about okay, so if I backtrack, so I know there's an article here, all right, and I know there we go. So this says an economic showdown is looming, okay, and it says government robs Peter's. So what's this dealing with? Okay, so this is the one I'm looking for. Right, this is not quite what I was looking for, but nevertheless, okay, what you got is a situation out here where the economy is about to break. Okay, you got a situation where you're gonna have a market crash. Okay, so I didn't quite find what I was looking for, but nevertheless, okay, you're gonna have what's known as a financial crash. Okay, and within that financial crash, you're gonna have it to where people are gonna be looking for food. People are going to be looking for water. Okay, people are going to be looking for resources. Why are they going to be looking for resources? Because there's no financial market for them to support themselves. There's no shipments of goods back and forth by way of the merchants that you got out there. Okay, you have no resources moving from one end of the earth onto the other end of the earth, and this is mainly going to affect countries like Britain and the United States, who import most of their so-called food and so on and so forth, their resources. Okay, so as a result, Okay, as a direct result of the market crashing, you're gonna have sedition, civil unrest among people, right, invading one another. Okay, not regarding their so-called kings or princes, which is your so-called government rulers. That's nothing but a modern-day king. Okay, all right, they're not gonna regard any of that. They're gonna rob the next man's house because why? Because they're hungry. They want to feed their kids. Okay, it says, and the cause of their actions shall stand in their power. Okay, but as a result of that, right, the government is gonna say, hey, hold on a minute, this is what's going on, and the elite banking family is going to be saying, look, this is what we had intended. Okay, we had intended that when the market crashes, these people are going to uproar, so that we can send the military out there. Okay, and once the military's been sent out there, then you're going to have a fulfillment of this scripture: a man shall desire to go into a city, but shall not be able to. Okay, why? And why is he not going to be able to? Because you got the police, the militarized police force out there. Okay, so I'm gonna read a little bit of this, and call it quits. It's very simple, very short video. Okay, but really the point is made within just those two sentences of this. Really, these two verses of the scriptures. Okay, a few images from a few movies that the elite banking families are allowed to go out there. Okay, and this article right here. Okay, so it says, coming to a city near you, the U.S. military plans to take over America. Okay, so it says, our current and past strategies can no longer hold. And why they saying they can no longer hold? Because you got it to where all kind of rioting is happening. People, see, that's where this comes into it. Because they're saying, no, you can't be happy, you can't be sad, you gotta be right there in the middle. No dogs, no pets. And that's what the film was all about. Okay, all right. Because why? Because all of those things lead to what? They lead to upheaval, man, sedition among men. Okay, which is what the elite banking families had intended in the first place. This is why we call this Esau like the master chess player. But the Most High, he's the grand master chess player, because he's playing he's even playing the master, man. Okay, that's how bad the Most High is. So he's orchestrating what the elite banking families are doing. Okay, making them feel like they're putting moves together. Okay, and then all of a sudden the Most High is gonna rain upon him with wrath, man. Okay, which is gonna be it's gonna be a damn beautiful thing. So let's get back onto this article right here. So it says here, our past strategy can no longer hold. We're facing environments that the masters of war never foresaw. Right, we're facing our threats that require us to redefine doctrine and force in radically new and different ways. Okay, what does that sound like to you? That sounds like a new world order. Okay, they're basically telling you that we need to radically change it. So they're talking about the so-called new world order, right? Okay, it says this: the future army will confront a highly sophisticated, urban-centric threat that will require that urban operations become the core requirements for future land force. The threat is clear. Our direction remains to be defined. The future is urban. Okay, it says the U.S. military plans to take over America by 2030. So they might put that down on paper, but they really might want that much more ahead of that. We know this thing is close. It's nowhere. Look, 2030 is a long time from here. And I know IUIC like numbers like 2030 because they can see their kids to grow up, but we're hastening the day. Okay, this thing ain't gonna look. In 2030, we'll be in the kingdom. It'll be the year 5 or something like that, right? Okay, we'll start accounting already, right? Okay, we ain't looking to be out here till the year 2030. You know how much whales and dolphins is gonna, is gonna suicide themselves by that time, man. You know how many pigeons they ain't gonna be no flesh left in 2030. Okay, ain't gonna be no flesh left in 2030. Talking about nuclear radiations is going out there. Okay, poison water, poison food, and all of this. There's not gonna be no flesh left in 2030. So the Most High is gonna have to intervene prior to that point. Now, I'll be very surprised if I'll be astonished. Okay, if the Most High allowed it to go that far. Okay, so let's carry on with this. It says, no, this is not another conspiracy theory, although it easily could be. Okay, so you're gonna have a lot of people that are gonna be listening to this video going, oh, that's just another conspiracy theory, and they're gonna be willingly ignorant and they're gonna dismiss the information. Now let's get actual factual. Okay, it says, nor is it a Hollywood political thriller in the vein of John Frankenheimer, I think it's called, in 1964, political thriller 7 Days in May, about a military coup, okay, or something or other. It says, Although it could certainly has all the making for a good thriller. No, this is a real deal, okay? Coming at us straight from the horse's mouth. According to according to Megacities Urban Future, okay, the emerging complexity, okay, a Pentagon trading training video created by the Army for the U.S. Special Operations Command. All right, the U.S. military plans to use armed forces to solve future domestic, political, and social problems. So when you got a so-called Black Lives Matter out there, okay, or IUIC out there that are rioting, okay, or are so-called standing out there and creating disputes. Well, now you're gonna have a situation where they're gonna use the military as a resolve to that. Okay, that's what they've just said there. It says the U.S. military plans to use armed forces to solve future domestic, political, and social problems. Okay, you going out there and so-called pushing the word of the Most High, and I'm talking about these guys out there like ISUPK, okay, and IUIC that are talking all kind of madness as pertaining to the scriptures, because they ain't breaking down the scriptures correctly. All right, when they go out there, they're gonna get the same thing that we're gonna get, the same treatment. Okay, you're gonna be seen as a social, domestic, political problem, and they're gonna issue out the army, the real army, not these policemen that be shooting Jake. Now we're talking about the army now. They're gonna kill, okay, without remorse. Okay, all right, because that's you're not gonna have stories about the army did this, that, and the third, and we should go out there and march on the streets. Guess what? When the army rolls out there and the Most High has it to where Esau brings about the day of Jacob's trouble, okay? When the Most High allows that to happen, guess what, man? There ain't gonna be no opinions about it, okay? There's not gonna be any interventions about it. It's just gonna happen, man. Okay, that's why the Lord had termed it the time of Jacob's trouble within the book of Job, the 30th chapter. Why? Because you ain't gonna be able to go out there and protest about it. Okay, just like how you had it to where all of these these young little niggas got killed by the police. This time it's the military doing it. Okay, they're gonna be cold, heartless. Okay, and if you rise up and you riot again, guess what? They're gonna take your ass out just the same way. Okay, the only way you're gonna be able to survive is one of two ways. Okay, of which really the latter one is really not a way to surviving. Okay, because the missile's gonna save you. The first way is gonna be the first way and the only way is to survive by Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Okay, and the second way is only to extend your judgment. Okay, all right, by way of taking Esau's RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast. Okay, which buys you a couple of days. And when the Most High brings about judgment, it's gonna be even more heavier upon you. Okay, it says read on. So it says what they're really talking about is martial law. And what have I been talking? Okay, what have we been seeing in these images? You're seeing a martial law like theme, man. Okay, a martial law type situation. That's a damn good picture. I don't want to go to the site and that, but that's a damn good picture right there. That's a martial law type situation right here. All right, again, going to show you that they predict these things within their movies, okay, to better acclimatize the people to what's going to be brought forth onto them. Okay, that's why that's what prevents what is psychological trauma. Okay, because if you woke up in a world that you've never seen military or anything like that, okay, and the military all of a sudden really they want to control you because of your resource, all right, but you've never seen them before, so guess what? You're gonna have a psychological trauma. Okay. All right, in acclimatizing you to that, although you're gonna somewhat uproar against it, they show you within these movies that ultimately you're gonna submit to them. So they've done what's known as social engineering. They've engineered your reaction, which is to of the first instance is to rise up against the state. Okay, but they also orchestrated it to where your mind submits after a certain amount of time. That's why when you watch these movies, you might have it to where they rise up against the government for a certain amount of time, but ultimately the government wins. Okay, I forget how this movie ends, but even if I remembered it, I wouldn't, I don't want to give the ending away. Okay, so but see, hey, when you watch these movies, do they ever show you how Hashem Yahushai intervening? No, why? Because this man is not a spiritual individual, right? Okay. See, that's a brilliant thing. That's what they're bringing out. Now they might do it in a so-called futuristic way, and they got the jackets and so on and so forth. But that's impractical. Okay, when they go out there, they ain't gonna have the jackets and so on and so forth on there. They're just gonna come for your head, man. Okay, and like I've been saying, it doesn't matter if you're on IUIC or ISUPK, your head's gonna get taken off the same way, man, because you're seen as a social and political problem, man. Okay, you present a problem to the elite banking families. Okay, that's what the scripture says when you go into the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, around about, was it the first verse? Okay, then shall what does it say again? Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as afflicted him. Okay, all right. So the Most High is going to have his men out there ultimately. All right, but all the people that are known as Israelites, okay, the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, all right, right, the Negroes, Hispanic, and Native Americans, they're gonna go through the time of Jacob's trouble, man. And we're reading about it right here. So I'm gonna read a little bit more, and then I'll call it quits. Okay. So it says, what we're really talking about here is martial law pact as well, meaning and overriding concerns of national security. The chilling 5 minutes training video obtained by the Intercept, right, through a FOIA request and made available online paints the omni omni ominous ominous, okay, that's a tongue twister that way for me, right, picture of the future, a future the military is preparing for, right, be, be, bedeviled by criminal networks, right, substandard infrastructure, religious and ethnic tensions, all right, impoverishment, slums, and open landfilms, right, over burdened sewers, and a growing mass of unemployment, urban landscape in which the prosperous economic elite must be protected from the impoverishment of the have-nots. Okay, so here it is. You got religious groups. That's where you Israelites fall in there. Ethnic groups. That's where you niggers fall in there. Impoverishments. That's where you have them rednecks fall in there, because they're gonna be like, look, we want a piece of the Americans, the so-called American pie, man. Okay, all right. So the elites are sheltering themselves by way of this military. Okay. Right, they're sheltering themselves by way of militarizing the police, so to speak, okay, against the serfs, man, the have-nots, okay. So I mean, you can read the article for the rest of the article for yourself, okay, but hopefully you get the gist of what I was trying to say. With that, I'm gonna say, all praises unto Yahweh Shai, double honors the apostle GMS, honest your brothers that be pushing this truth sincerely. Shalom.